All right, yesterday we talked about polyhedra, and so today we're just going to review that a little bit, and then we have a whole bunch of new stuff that we're going to have to talk about, and that's surface area of prisms. 9.2 is actually surface area of prisms and cylinders. We're going to split it into prisms today, and then we'll do cylinders tomorrow when I get back. So in this problem right here, it's asking, is it a polyhedron? We can answer yes to that because it is composed of all polygons. The base of this is a square, so it is a square, and it comes up to a point, so it is a square pyramid. Okay, number of bases. In this case, it just has one base, and that's the one that's on the bottom, so we're going one there. And then the faces, because we're going to talk a little bit about changing this up a little bit. The faces today are going to be the stuff that goes around it. So there are 4 triangles that make up the faces of this. Okay, edges, we still have to count all the edges, which around it we've got 1, 2, 3, 4. And then around our square we have another 4, so we have 8 edges. And our vertices, we've got the 4 at the edge of our base, and then we have the point where it comes up at the top, so we have 5 vertices. No, that is not a 14, I just accidentally hit that. All right, here we have a polyhedron, because again, we have all polygons, we have rectangles, and then it looks like we have a pentagonal base. So we want to go pentagonal, and in this case, it is a prism because we have 2 parallel bases that are pentagons. So I just said we have 2 parallel bases, so that would be 2 bases. Our faces are going to be what goes around it. So how many rectangles connect to that pentagon? Well, it's a pentagon, so in order to connect it, we need 5 rectangles. Edges, holy buckets, we have a lot of edges. We have 5 that are up here. We have 5 down on the bottom, and then it looks like we have 5 around. So we have 15 edges. And then vertices, we've got 5 up here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And then we have our 5 down on the bottom for a total of 10 vertices. All right, true or false? A rectangular pyramid has 2 bases. That one is going to be false because it's not going to be a pyramid that has 2 bases. A triangular prism, on the other hand, is going to be true because in a prism, remember, we have 2 parallel bases. We've got the bases of a prism are congruent polygons. That's definitely got to be true. Does a cone have 2 bases? Well, remember that we've got a cone. Looks like this. And that's going to be a false because that's only got 1 base. And is a sphere a polyhedron? That's going to be a no because remember that it's not surrounded by polygons. Okay? So a prism, it's a polyhedron with 2 congruent parallel faces that we call bases. So the 2 congruent parallel dealy-bobbers here and here are going to be called our bases. Okay? For a rectangular prism, any of the parallel faces could be bases. But we'll talk about that here as we go. Oh, no. All right, back it up here a little bit. All right, so we're just going to talk a little bit about labeling. Remember our parallel parts right here are going to be our bases. And then we call our lateral faces. This is really going to come in when we get to area. Okay, not necessarily surface area, but the volume. Knowing what a lateral face is really going to have a lot to do with some things. Okay, we're going to assume that all of the prisms are right so that we can get some of our stuff. All right, a net. Okay, basically a net, if I take this prism apart right here and I unfold it, this is what it would look like. Okay, and when I'm talking surface area, I've got to take the area of all the different parts. That's why we talked a lot about irregular shapes last chapter. Because I have to take the area of this, the area of this, the area of this, the area of this, and then these 2 little ones up here to get my whole surface area of that entire 3-dimensional shape. Okay? So if we're talking about the left and the right face, those are the green parts right there, okay? My dimensions of it are 8 by 5. Therefore, my area of those green spots are 40. Okay, and remember we have two of them. So we have 40 and 40. Would go there and would go there. My pink part, my front and my back, is going to be 3 by 8, which gives us what? 24 for each of those for pink. 24 and 24. Whereas on my sides, we know this is 3 and this has got to be 5 up here. So front and bottom is going to be 3 by 5, giving me 15 for each of those small ones. Okay, to get the total of it, we've got to add up the whole thing, called surface area. Okay, same thing with this. If we go the left and the right, which is over this one over here, and this one right here is 2 by 5. So we've got 10 and 10. The front and the back is 3 by 5. So that gives me 15 and 15. My top and my bottom are 3 by 2. So that gives me 6 and 6. So what do we have? We've got 20 here. We've got 30 here. We've got 12 here, giving me a total of 62 inches squared. Okay, same thing would happen here if I wanted to go through and draw all these. Mostly we're going to be talking a lot about the formula, so I really want to get into what this formula is. Okay, good news. Okay, we will give you these formulas on the test, but when we're talking about our worksheets and stuff like that, you're really going to want to at least have either write these at the top of your worksheet, or you're going to want your notes with you, because some of them, sometimes they're really hard to understand what is going on here. Okay, we need to be a little bit careful. Well, first of all, surface area, we've got to take 2 times the area of the base. Okay, and when we're talking about the area of the base, we write it as the area and then sub b. So area and then that b means of the base. Okay, so 2 times the area of the base, plus we're going to take the perimeter of the base. That's what that PB means, perimeter of the base, times the height. Okay, so we've got to be a little bit careful when we're talking about the height. In this case, it's my vertical height, but if we're talking here, my base is this triangle and my base is this triangle. My height, we have to make sure that it's the distance between the 2 bases. Holy, I didn't even spell that right. The distance between the 2 bases. Well, the distance between these 2 triangles isn't my vertical height of 6. We have to make sure that it's the distance between, which in this case is 15 feet. Okay, so the shape of my base in this case, I have a rectangle. So that makes it a rectangular prism. Okay, and we can make any of these my base. I can make this my base or this my base, because we do have rectangles on either side. Okay, so let's make the bottom of this my base, which in this case 2 times 6, the area of my base is going to give me 12. Okay, the perimeter of my base, I've got 2 plus 2 is going to give me 4, plus 6 is going to give me 10, plus another 6, my perimeter is going to be 16. Okay, and then my height, between my top and my bottom, my height is going to be 3. So when we figure this thing out, we have to be careful. We've got to go 2 times, what's my area is 12. So 2 times 12, plus we've got to take the perimeter, which is 16, times my height, which is 3. So my 2 times my 4, I've got my 24. My 16 times my 3 gives me my 48. I add those together and I'm going to get 72. Don't forget, we're talking about area. So we label it as inches squared. It's going to be the area of that. Okay. In this case, my base, be very careful what's parallel to each other. In this case, it's my two triangles. So it is a triangular, or in this case, my base is a triangle, which makes it a triangular prism. All right, area of my base. Area of a triangle is 1/2 base times height, or 3 times 4, which gives me 6. My perimeter, luckily it tells me that this is 5 right here. If they didn't tell me that was 5, how could I figure it out? We could use the Pythagorean theorem and go 3 squared plus 4 squared equals c squared, which gives me 9 plus 16 equals c squared, which gives me 25 equals c squared, which tells me that is 5. Okay, so add them all up, 7, 12? I hope so. And the height, remember the distance between the two, this is going to be my height right here, which is 2. And then we plug it into the formula. We've got 2 times, what's the area of my base? Is 6, plus my perimeter is 12, times my height, which is 2. So we get 12 plus 24 is going to give me 36. Don't forget to label it. We're talking about meters, and we're talking about surface area, so meters squared. Okay, let's flip to, I don't like that one either. Let's do this one. Okay, shape of the base is going to be a rectangle again. Which makes it a rectangular prism. Okay, area of my base, again, let's do the bottom. So the area of my base, 8 times 5 is going to give me 40. Whereas my perimeter, remember this is 8 and this is 5. So we've got 16 plus 10 gives me 26. And my height, that thing right there is my height this time, and so we've got 6. So we have 2 times, my area is 40, plus my perimeter is 26, times my height, which is 6. 2 times 40 gives me my 80, plus somebody's got to help me out here. We've got 26 times 6 gives me 156. We add those things together and we are going to get 236, label it, feet squared. Okay, so your whole assignment, your whole worksheet today is plugging things into this right here. Okay, you're going to want to know that. You're going to want to have your notes open to that when you're doing your worksheet so that you can figure it out. Don't forget that your height might not always be your vertical height. Okay, it is the distance between your two parallel bases. That's going to be important today. All right, have fun. See you tomorrow.